Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. Thank you, Joe. Um, I have a question. As you stated in the beginning, you already are um, the thing that you are. Uh, what I see now, I don't know, is from all the teachings I got and the things I read, is that all I get out of it is always still in the realm of the mind. It's either a description or an experience or feeling like, okay, something changed, but it's still a perceiving. So it's never that. So here's my question. Uh, Although I see um, the satsang gives pointing, but it will always be in the realm of the mind. I see now, or this is my question. It will always be in the mechanism of this because there's always a description or a conclusion or an image or a feeling about it instead of it itself.
I think I understand your question. You're saying that when you explore knowing yourself as its nature, it always appears as a mental conclusion about, okay, I am this, or I'm not this, or I am this, but it's not an experience.
Yeah, because I see now that everything I feel or experience, even if not thought of mind being there, mind not being there, it all has to bounce off something in order for that thing to see like, oh, it's not the mind, or it is the mind, or it's not the feeling, or it's never that. So the conclusion was made. Like it's always um, whatever's happening will always be in the realm of the mechanism of the mind, of the body mind. Let me put it in more wider. And that is a bit of a question.
Hmm. What's your experience right now?
Is that I'm aware of my of my body, of my mind, of that thought coming, putting it there, but I'm also
Right.
aware of something being aware of all that.
You're also aware of something being aware.
Yeah.
Right. So if you got rid of the thing that's also being aware, what's because that's the concept that's distracting you, right? That also being aware. Just be aware of this experience right now. It's just there you are.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I see that's the commentator, yeah, but there's always some, yeah.
yeah, it's you've made the aware into a thing, which is it's not a thing.
uh,
Yeah, that just really relax into that without trying to pin it down, unpin it. That when it can still be there if you want, but that's no more than the smell of cooking and I am aware of awareness thing.
and that was a little
It's
bit of thing, like I could see like you cannot pin it down in any way, because even the, how you say it, where it's still a projection of something, like, you mean,
well,
this is what I'm
what's the let's be clear, what's a projection?
something that is um that you're able to capture or see or
Yeah, but
um
okay. So I had a very funny teacher once. She wasn't funny, like she didn't know she was funny. And all she would say is just this, just this, this, this. All concepts gone. this, the capturing of, it's just this. If you just allow this moment to just be, including the more nuanced ideas, so allow them as well. What happens on this journey is many people on this journey, they have quite sophisticated minds. Not everyone, but many. And those minds are very used to abstraction and calculating and thinking. And when you introduce it to awareness and the idea that what's looking, it starts abstracting that as well. And then that's just, it's a bit more complex because now you're abstracting the idea of awakening, and it can be quite confusing. But that's just another mind burp. It doesn't offer any value to this apart from its awareness. So when this idea of this capturing, and I think I understand your question because it's quite nuanced, but this is always being captured in the mind somewhere, that is also being observed. So you can end up in an infinite loop where you see that, now I capture that, and then that sees it, and that captures that. But that's just an activity that you can just let go, leave it as it is, allow it to be, let the mind exhaust itself doing that. And all what's really going on is there's this palpable knowing presence that cannot be, doesn't need to be captured in what? It's just this, nothing else. Most people have had this experience. If you see a baby's face or a sunset, it just becomes this. And we think it's the sunset or the baby's face. But you can do that looking at complex mind abstractions about awareness. Ah, yeah, it's just, does that help in any way? I'm not sure. Maybe it
It,
does a little.
yeah, it is. It is because I wasn't even sure if it was a question or a compliment, but it helps to just
Yeah,
because now the mind that says like yeah, but everything is as it is, trying to say like yeah, but everything is being perceived, so it cannot still not be that actually.
yeah.
If I
But
may phrase
everything
it.
is, yeah, everything is being perceived by what? So there's no place to arrive. Whenever, if anybody here still thinks there's a place to arrive, then that will appear to be an impediment to knowing yourself, that there's somewhere to arrive. I said this last week, I think. I describe it as you're falling through the sky, but you know there's no land, right? There's nowhere to arrive. You're already here. What changes, because there is a change, the more you understand in your own experience that you're already here, the more you stop thinking about being somewhere else. So it does reduce, but it reduces in an inverted way. It reduces by stop pursuing it and you realize you're here. It's very, very tricky to understand this, but by looking, you're leaving yourself, and then you create this gap that needs to be filled, but it's self-created. If you relax and stop looking, you're immediately here. This is why in the direct teachings they say you're already awake. Now I make a distinction here. In the way that I discuss this, I talk about liberation and awakening. And the path based process, practices, mantras, yoga, meditation, these are more about working on your causes and conditions that appear right now, having a more quieter mind, being able to bring into the world your ideas because you can be with yourself more readily, right? These are sort of training practices for your body mind. They're sometimes presented as awakening practices, but they're not. It's more like learning to play a guitar, becoming a ballerina, learning to meditate and do yoga. They do help your illusory life, right? But awakening is seeing that no matter what is appearing, it has no independent nature. It only ever appears as your own being. In certain lineages, you have Shiva, pure consciousness, and Shakti, the dynamic energy of that consciousness. And they're not two. So, whatever you're looking at consciousness because they're not two. So, me on this screen, I'm just your consciousness. And where you're looking from is from consciousness. Awakening is deeply and profoundly knowing that in your daily life. So when something comes up that's like perceiving, but not, but it doesn't matter because you just see that's just another appearance of consciousness. Thank you. So every appearance, all they ever say to you is you are awake, you are awake, you are awake, you are awake. The knock on the door, you are awake. You get a bill, you are awake. You have a thinking about non-duality, you are awake. That's all they say. It's not all they say, it's what they primarily say when you're awake, when you recognize your awakening. When you don't recognize it, they say everything else. So the courage is to, when this comes up for you, and we've all got something like this, whatever it might be, when it comes up, the courage is to let it be. Like, don't, as Muji, and I know you've had teaching with Muji, as Muji says, don't get on the train. The train comes, but I want to get on the train. Don't get on the train. But I really want to get on this train. This is the awakening train. Don't get on the train. Stay. And Papaji, he I think Papaji had one of the most annoying phrases for a Western mind. Keep quiet. That means so different to us in the West. It means shut up. But he means keep quiet. Like don't I say leave it as it is. That's what he means. Leave it as it is. Some say don't get on the train. Keep quiet. I say don't describe. So it's so much freedom that when something comes up, and whatever it is for everybody here, there's something. There's so much freedom when that comes up and you don't engage. And your mind, it wants you to. It wants to establish the separate self. So that's why for you, because you're very been doing this a lot and you've had great accomplishments. What it does is it finds more and more tricky ways to try and get you back in. Right? That the mind wants to consume, it wants to appropriate everything. It wants to appropriate all teachings. It would love to turn them into step-by-step numbers painting game. That's what would be the best. It's so hungry for it because it just wants to control. It just wants to control everything, right? And when you, as pure wisdom, says we don't need to do that. We don't need to know anything about that. That is such a powerful moment. We don't need to know anything about that. We're just here, right? And that is how we progress with this. And then you find ways to test it. And you don't have to go looking for ways to test it because they come and find you.
Yeah.
But it's like what is appearing that's disturbing your peace? That's what you are reifying, and it happens to me, right? It still can happen to me, but I'll recognize it very early on. I was doing some business stuff recently, and I found myself suddenly quite drawn into that being real. And that's happening because it's suffering appears. They're the same thing. Being drawn in to this story is synonymous with suffering appearing. Either you're drawn into something that you don't like, and then you don't like that, or you're drawn into something that you do like, and then you fear it going. So they both cause
Yeah.
suffering, right? So what we do is we allow it all to be as it is, but from insight. This is not a disciplined practice. I'm going to let it be as it is. I'm going to let it be as it is. It's from knowing that all it is consciousness. Say it again. There's awareness. There's only two things that exist. There's awareness and there's everything else. And they're not two. And from that insight, you allow things to be as they are. I hope that was of some help.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. My pleasure.